Oh hi, I'm actually starting this vlog with manga, which I normally don't do, but I've read 2 volumes and it's time to talk about them. I read volumes 5 and 6 and they were so good. Volume 5 was basically everything that I complained. Well, volume 5 is very similar to what volume 3 was, which I complained about in my last Vagabond video. I didn't really like volume 3 at all, and volume 5 was doing something very similar, but so much better. It was like a whole volume of just like focused on one fight, and it was so good. It was so tense and it was constantly moving, and we still had that internal monologue and we still had all the things that were going on, but it was such a tense, exciting battle, as well as these questions about like what makes a person strong and how, like what it takes to overpower somebody. Some really interesting ideas are being introduced in both volumes 5 and 6. Really interesting ideas and questions are being introduced that I'm super excited to discuss with Philip in our next video. Plus, characters being brought back in that I've been missing for a little bit. I'm so interested specifically in Matahachi and in what's going on with him, because who he was when he was introduced to me and now where he's going, it just aligns so well of what I know of him. Like, I see a pattern of his character that I'm so interested to explore and to see where we go with it, and as well as just kind of digging more into these questions that are being asked and what are the answers that the author is going to have, or that I am supposed to come to. Where do I align or not align? I think I said this in my last vlog, but for how for this being a martial arts story, it's very slow. It's not an action story in the slightest. It's a lot more philosophical. It's a lot of questions being asked, and it's a lot of internal struggles, what's going on inside of these characters, and I'm just so into it. Especially these last 2 volumes. These last 3 volumes have all been really good. Yeah, so I read that and it's been great. I also got back from Utah. I went to Utah to work with Brandon Sanderson on some videos for his channel, which I think by the time you see this vlog it should all be announced, so I'll just tell you. I went to Utah to do a book club that he's starting out, where he's inviting people to discuss his books. So we talked about Trust of the Emerald Sea. We broke it up into 5 videos and just treated it like a book club, talked about it in sections, really dug into the story, our likes, our dislikes, all that fun stuff. So it was super, super fun. And while I was there, I also got to record a video with Brandon for my channel. That'll be up on Friday. That's for the main channel. So that'll be up tomorrow for you if you're watching this the day that it's released. I was gonna do like a vlog kind of talking about my experience, but I really just didn't get a lot of b-roll while we were there. It was a really busy trip and I just didn't want to have my phone out all the time recording stuff, so I just got a little bit of b-roll, so I'm just gonna put it in this vlog instead. And I don't know, we'll just see. I don't know, if you want to have a video dedicated to me just hanging out and talking about my experience there, then maybe. I don't know how interesting that is, but there's some b-roll for this video now. I just finished a novella. It's The Deep. I got this recommendation from the channel Olivia's Catastrophe. So this novella takes place during the transatlantic slave trade, and it's kind of like an alternate history where the pregnant and sick slaves that were thrown overboard because they were deemed an inconvenience got to live in the deep. They turned into these mermaid-like creatures and continued their lives, continued to live in the deep and in this community together. So we follow, our main character is the historian, which is kind of like, it's kind of like the Giver-esque sort of structure. So her role as the historian is that she keeps their history within her. She remembers their history, and I think it's once a year, or they have a regular season where she helps them to remember, but day to day she keeps the histories to herself, which is a huge burden on her, and she feels that burden strongly, and she feels like she's basically lost herself carrying this burden on her own, not knowing who she is apart from these histories. So we follow multiple perspectives, but that's the main perspective that we follow. And again, it's a novella, so keeping it really vague because it's a very short story. This novella is kind of like I would call it, it's mermaids, so it's fantasy or sci-fi. I'm not really sure how the publishers have categorized it. Okay, so the publishers have it as sci-fi as the main genre and then fantasy immediately after. But truly, while yes, it's mermaids, to me it reads like it's truly literary fiction. The way that it's written and the way that there's a conversation that is really the point of the story, and then the story is the facilitator of that conversation. The way the prose is written, some of the more really impactful quotes, it just reads more literary to me than it does genre fiction, which obviously it is a genre fiction, but anyway, go in knowing that that it's really more about the discussion than it is about the story itself, though the story itself is, you know, good. But that was probably the most that I got out of it, was just the discussions that were being had here. A lot of things to kind of reflect on and think on and chew on, and I really liked the ideas that are being presented in this book, the ideas of how important history is, and to not forget it, and to not push it aside, but also not to carry the burden of history on your own, that it can be a shared thing. How to find yourself and community in the midst of remembering. Sorry, my memory card filled up, but it's basically, it's an alternative history where the weight of the story is on how painful history can be, but the importance of remembering and discussing, and also where to go from there. As far as the story itself goes, I really enjoyed the way the water was described. Obviously their new life and their new community is in the water, but how connected the water would make them, and how they could feel each other and sense each other through this connection of the water. I really love that element. As a reader who loves nautical stories, I loved the way water was integrated into their very society and culture and community. I do wish it was longer. I feel like I really enjoyed the discussions that were being had and the story and the characters, but I just wanted more of all of it. I wanted to dig deeper. I wanted the characters to be more fleshed out. I wanted the story to feel a little bit more complete, but that might be a me problem because I really don't read a lot of novellas, so I'm not used to such a concise story. I'm used to things being explored really widely, so that might just be because I read novels. A novella feels too short, you know? For the next interlude, I have more footage from when I was in Utah. We did a journal making class, which has nothing to do with anything Sanderson, but we did it, and I got some B-roll, so enjoy that. I just got back from a hike and then put my daughter to bed, so I hope the fan in her room isn't too loud, but if it is, sorry. I'm gonna talk to you about this book. So I'm 100 pages into The Trouble with Peace. I should know the title of the book, but 100 pages into The Trouble with Peace, which is a sequel to The Little Hatred, Joe Abercrombie. I'm having the best time in the world. Joe Abercrombie is such, I fly through his books. His books are so character focused, and because this is book 2, I already am very invested in everything that's happening with these characters. So it's such a fast read for me. I get into his books, and not only do I love his prose, and I love the way he writes dialogue and the way he writes his characters and the different personalities that he creates. I love it all so much that as soon as I just read a paragraph, I'm completely immersed. I'm totally there. And the fact that I'm already invested in these plot lines, and the fact that it's an Abercrombie, so book 1 took us through a journey, and book 2 is everybody suffering for that journey. At least the first 100 pages has been. So it's people in new leadership roles that are floundering and not realizing how corrupt the system is and having to learn the hard way. People who have had failed adventures and are now having to pivot and figure out how to survive the situations that they're in. Characters that are just going around beating everybody up. Happy with her. Enjoying what's going on with her. It's just a bunch of floundering is essentially what the first 100 pages have been. It's just a bunch of floundering. It's a bunch of characters who have suffered and are now just going, what do I do now? Which sounds really whiny, but it's not. It's amazing. So I'm having the best time. And like I said, Abercrombie's books, they just go by so fast for me because I just get so completely immersed the second I start reading. And because they're so character focused, I just can't stop reading. I'm so invested in these characters and what's happening to them. And I'm really excited to see where this goes. So I'm probably going to finish this weekend. I need to wrap up this vlog because it goes up tomorrow, but I'll probably finish this weekend. It was on my schedule for me to have a review up for this book next week on Tuesday, and I really just don't think that's going to be a problem. If it is, I'll pivot. I'll do something else because I'm not going to, you know, I'm going to enjoy this, but I don't think it's going to be a problem because I'm having such a wonderful time and I'm not even that far into it yet. Everything he writes is a hit for me. Even his weaker books, in my opinion, his weaker books are a hit. Are he never disappoints me. And I'm having so much fun hanging out with these characters again, and can't wait to see what happens to them. So yeah, everyone is suffering and I love it. Super, super excited to watch more of that happen. I hope you enjoyed some of the b-roll. We did go for a hike today, so I'll have some good hiking b-roll for next week's vlog. And I just got the ebook for Men at Arms, the sequel to Guards. I just got that in from the library, so I will be starting that next week as well. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you've had a good week. I post videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays on this channel, Mondays and Fridays on the main channel. I'll see you again soon. Bye.